Well, hello there. The subject is stems and three crucial diagrams that are about stem concepts, stem development concepts. First of all, and we're talking about dicot stems here. If this is the outside of a stem, and these are the vascular bundles, we need to label these vascular bundles appropriately. What would this be right here? This would be primary what? Phloem. What would this be down here? Primary xylem. And what would this be right here? Residual procambium. Yes, indeed, residual procambium. Well, if this is, we're talking monocot or dicot here, definitely dicot. Definitely dicot. Vascular bundles around the outside, kind of a ring or circle around the outside of the stem. So far, we have only primary growth illustrated here. And if this is a herbaceous dicot, what would happen to the residual procambium? It would go bye-bye, would it not? It would completely differentiate, I love that word, completely differentiate into either primary phloem or primary xylem, if it's a herbaceous dicot. But if it is a woody dicot, there must develop here somehow, some way, a ring of what? A ring of vascular cambium. A ring of vascular cambium. So what does the vascular cambium develop from in a woody dicot? Well, residual procambium. And what else? It's got to be a complete ring. And so it also develops from this right here and right there. And so what is this area? Well, what kind of tissue is all in here? It's what? Parenchyma tissue? Yes, indeed. And so we're now going to say we've got no more residual cambium. We're going to call this the vascular cambium. The vascular cambium. And what did it develop from? It differentiated from what? Two things. The residual procambium plus what? What was in here again? Parenchyma. How would we describe the location of the parenchyma? Plus parenchyma between vascular bundles. The parenchyma between the vascular bundles. Now I've written that nice and straight. Hopefully you can see that. And so we now have a ring of vascular cambium. We have no secondary growth yet. But again, where did that ring of vascular cambium come from? Part of it developed from what? Residual procambium. And in between the vascular bundles, it developed from what? Parenchyma. This was all parenchyma here. That parenchyma, some of that parenchyma, the parenchyma between the vascular bundles, developed into vascular cambium. When this is done, you've got a complete ring of vascular cambium. Where did it come from again? The vascular cambium came from residual procambium plus parenchyma between vascular bundles. But let's erase all that and let's illustrate a little bit of secondary growth. And let's begin with now the vascular cambium. Let's do that. And so, what forms on each side of the vascular cambium? One layer here, one layer above, one layer below, above, below, above, below. Well, what forms immediately above the vascular cambium? Secondary phloem. Yes, secondary phloem. What forms? I might as well make this a colorful diagram. What develops immediately below the vascular cambium? Oh, let's make it red. All right. What develops immediately below the vascular cambium? This would be what? Secondary xylem. Secondary xylem. But let's say this is very early on. Very early on. What would we still be able to see for a while after just a little tiny bit of secondary phloem and xylem had formed? We'd still be able to see those original vascular bundles, would we not? We'd still be able to see them. What would this be out here? This would be what? Primary phloem. And what would this be down here? Primary xylem. Okay, after a while, that the primary xylem is probably going to be smushed out of existence. Secondary phloem, it'll be squashed away too, and so you won't see them. So we're going to draw one last picture here that will take us to a mature stage. This is kind of a beginning stage right here. So take a look at that. There you have it. Isn't that beautiful? Sure it is. And finally, last but not least, let's have a vascular cambium, and let's label that vascular cambium. But now let's also include the cork cambium. Does that go above or below the vascular cambium, the way I've drawn it? Above, right? Yeah, the cork cambium. Cork cambium. And so, what's going to develop on either side of this? To the top, I can't remember what colors I used in the last one, but anyway, above it, we're going to have the development of what? Secondary phloem. And I think I used red on this. And what's going to develop below the vascular cambium? Secondary, coming this way. Secondary xylem is going to develop this way. The cork cambium. What's it going to make on the outside? It's going to make some bark. Bark. And so we'll call this cork or bark. B-A-R-K, there you go. Bark, that's what's formed on this side of the cork cambium. And there is a layer of, we'll call it parenchyma. It's another fancy name for it. It never gets thick. It doesn't go very far. It gets smushed. We'll just call it parenchyma. Develops on the inside of the cork cambium. So, vascular cambium, cork cambium, what forms on either side of the vascular cambium? Secondary xylem to the inside, secondary phloem, cork cambium, cork or bark on the outside, something we'll call parenchyma on the inside. Did I get that? Parenchyma. All right, folks, those are several crucial drawings that you need to know. Some of it's obviously going to come up on test number 2. Okay, that's it for this one. Bye-bye.